Hi everyone, this is Anna from All DIY Crafts, and today we're going to be making another mug. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to clean this with our alcohol. So I just take a cloth and I just make sure we get all the impurities off of it and stuff that does come off. And then the next thing I'm just going to let this dry for a few minutes. I do have it already taped off here. And then we're going to go ahead and paint it white. I'm going to be using Krylon, and we'll be back. Okay, so we have our cup painted. We're going to let it dry, and then we're going to go ahead and do a Tack It alternative and get this cup covered. Okay, so our cup is dry now, and what I'm going to be using is I'm going to just be using the Loctite 100 adhesive. And what I'm going to do is I actually found this on from another YouTuber, and I'll try to leave her link below. This is going to be an alternative Tack It method. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to spray this down, and then we're going to wait 6 to 10 minutes. We're just going to kind of test it on the end here to see, make sure it has still a little bit of tackiness in it. And then we're going to go ahead and do our glitter, and then we'll repeat if needed. So we're going to go ahead and spray it down now, and we'll be back. Okay, so it is sprayed down. You can maybe see it here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to let it dry for 6 to 10 minutes. I'm actually going to be setting a timer so that I don't forget, because if it's too dry then it won't work. So we'll be back. Okay, so our timer has gone off. And I'm now going to go ahead and I'll touch it on the end. And it's tacky, but it's not too, like, it's not going to gum up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start pouring our glitter. And I like to set it down here, get the bottom. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to start rubbing it flat with my fingers. And I usually do this process 2 times. And if you have a little bald spot, you'll feel it, because it's gonna try to grab onto your finger there. I already hit one, so I will be doing this twice. But it lays down really nice and flat. This isn't a real fine glitter, but it's not a really chunky glitter either. And I can feel a little bit of tackiness over here. I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to refill our cup here. I always put 2 pieces of paper down. I think it's like right here. I see a little bit of a bald spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this just a few minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and re-spray it with the Loctite, and then I'm going to re-glitter it. Don't forget to set your timer, because that's the whole key. And you'll find the right time for you. Mine is more like 6 minutes, and I think it's because it's really hot over here, and I think maybe it just dries faster. I don't have any fans on right now, so we'll let that sit tight for a few minutes. Don't forget to get the bottom. And then we'll do one more coat, and then we'll be back. Okay, so this is what it's gonna look like when you're done. I did go ahead and I sealed it. This was done twice, and I sealed it with the clear Rust-Oleum 2 times semi-gloss clear. So basically we're going to go ahead and take this cup. This is a different cup. This is one I did yesterday. So it's been curing for about 24 hours now. We're going to go ahead and put it on our spinner, and then we're going to go ahead and start mixing our micas. Okay, so we have our cup taped off. We have it on our turner. What I've done is I've put a little bit of alcohol in each of these little bath bomb molds. I make soap too, and so I usually use Mica from Stardust Mica. It's available on Amazon. It's cruelty-free and cosmetic grade. It's safe for eyes and lips, so I like to keep it to the cosmetic safe micas. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, what we do is we mix our micas in alcohol before we put it into our soap mixture. And so I'm thinking that might just work here too. I haven't tried this before, so I don't know. The design I'm going to be using has these colors in it. So if you need your colors to be darker, you would add more mica. You could also, if you let these dry out, you could always just add alcohol, and your mica will, whatever powder's left, will go ahead and remix. If you don't, if you have a project right after. So sometimes that happens. So I'm using a blue, a pink, and a purple. And these little spoons I get from a yogurt shop, and I wash them off and reuse them. You will need some droppers for this. You will need a duster. And so what I'm going to do is, you want to make sure that there's no clumps. So you want to really make sure that you have it mixed quite well. And there is a chance you might need to add more alcohol. And I find that the bath bomb holders, they have like a little flat part underneath, and they're so easy to clean that it's just easier for me to do it this way. Okay, and it's great to have a silicone mat. Again, I learned this trick from another video, and if I can find her video, I will link it below. I'm going to add just a little bit more alcohol to this one here. Just a smidge. I guess just a smidge here too. Okay, make sure it's mixed very well. That's the most important part. Okay, so here's our first one. We're going to stop the spinning. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, don't want to, make it a little bit darker. We'll make it a little bit darker. You don't need much. I think what I want to do is not only make it darker, but make it a little bit thicker. Because this alcohol is evaporating. Make sure you get all the clumps out. And I want my design to go right about here, so I'm going to be a little careful about putting too much in one spot. This has a hole in it, so let me use a different one. And this will wipe right off. It's kind of hard to do. I'm going to actually probably move these to the other side because it's hard for me to get my hand here to squirt because I have to kind of go like this. So it's a little tough. I think I'm going to move some of this stuff. I think I'll put these up here. And then we'll do a blue. So the colors are a little light, and I'm just going to go back around and do it as much as I need to. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the design right about here. Right about here, I think. And then what I want to do is I'm going to try to do some holographic puppy paws. So this is going up a little bit high. I kind of like it, but I'm not sure how it's going to work out with, because I wanted to put her name on here too. So we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to let this dry, and I'm going to get my water slides ready. I actually might need to take that off because it just doesn't match the rest of the cup. But this is basically how you would do it. I would, if you could possibly set your cup up a little higher, and some of you might already have it, you get a better angle with this, because I'm kind of going sideways and it's a little hard. So what I'll do is I'm going to just do the bottom a little bit more, and then we'll be back. And now that I've done that, watch, I'll come back and I'll put them all up again. But this is basically how you would do it. And it'll take it right off. Okay, so I think we're done. I actually kind of like the way it looks. I also found that if you don't have alcohol on hand to remove it, or you've run out or you can't find it, just touching it with water too will help, will actually clear it out. I'm going to go ahead, I am going to seal this because I don't want to epoxy until it's sealed, and I don't want to apply my water slide because the cup will get wet and I'm worried it'll wipe that off. So we're going to go ahead and seal this cup and let it dry, and we'll be back. Okay, so I already have everything printed out on my water slide paper. I have other projects going on, so that's what this is. I'm going to go ahead and spray this down with sealer 3 times. I'm going to let it dry between each time, and then we'll go ahead and apply it. Okay, so here are my images. I use Photoshop. I just like the way it looks, and I like to be able to erase backgrounds, etc. I went ahead and printed this out on water slide paper onto my inkjet printer. It's transparent paper. So we have that done, and we will move on to the next part. Next, I have here Pam written out, and it's on Quirky script. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and again, I'm going to close the gap by using this button up here. And I'm going to keep it selected, and I'm actually going to hit weld. So I thought I'd get the way it is right there. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I know that I can go about 4 inches by 1.5 inches comfortably on the cup. And I'm going to actually make it a nice purple color to kind of go with the design on the cup. So this is going to be the first part, and then I'm going to actually, I think I will put her credentials under her name. I think I'm going to go ahead and make that a block. So I've gone ahead and put in RN, and I'm using, it looks like it's QUIROH heavy regular. I think this will look pretty good. I didn't need to line space it out or anything like that. So basically this is going to be our design on the side of the cup. This I will be cutting on the vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and click Make It. And this is fine, so I know I need to put on my mat, I need to cover at least 2 inches by 5 inches and make sure that I have it on vinyl. I am not going to mirror it because this is going on with transfer tape. So I'll go ahead and click Continue. and then we'll go ahead and load and print. Okay, so I've kind of figured out where on the cup I'm going to put this. I've already cut out the word Pam and RN. I'm kind of short on space, you can tell. So this was a Cricut foil adhesive. It doesn't matter if you use, if you're going to use Oracle, it doesn't matter if you're going to use 631 or 651, because you're going to epoxy it down anyway. You have to be really careful with the foils because they can tear. They're really picky at times. Okay, so we're going to do it right about here. I kind of want to do it a little bit above the color, and I want it to kind of match the color. The next one I'll do is her RN. This transfer tape has been used quite a few times, so I don't really blame it for not wanting to work very much anymore. All right, we're going to put that right. Let me take a look at that and see. Okay, and I want to do this first because once I start doing the water slide, I didn't want it to be moving around and stuff. So I'm actually going to be putting the water slide here. And I still have everything duct taped. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and reseal. So let me go get my warm water and we'll get this ready to go. Okay, I have my water. I have my spot. This is basically what your little dinners come in, like your lean cuisines. So this is basically all I do. The top wet for just a second. Okay, see if it's ready. Okay, and the edges are moving. Getting a little bit wet over here. I feel get all the air bubbles out. Now we're just going to let this dry. We have to make sure it dries before we put epoxy on it. And our mica stained fast because we already sealed that. So that's basically going to be it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and let this dry, and we will be back and start to epoxy. There was one more thing I wanted to show you. So these are the cups I'm mixing epoxy in. So basically what I do is I set it aside. If there's anything left in it, I let it dry. This is when they're both mixed together. A and B's little holders, they never dry. So I have to go in there and I wash it with Dawn. Well, I wipe it out first with a paper towel, then I wash it with some warm water with Dawn detergent. When this dries, all I have to do is manipulate it and turn it around. And if you see, it just peels right out. And it's perfect. So what I'm going to still do is I'm going to go in it with some Dawn liquid, some Dawn detergent and some warm water, and I'm just going to wash off the sides. Okay, I have A and B mixed into our silicone cup here. This is out, so I'm just putting it here so you can see what we're using. I have a exhaust fan going on in the background. So now, I saw a little piece of vinyl right there. So we're going to go ahead and clean that off. We do have our tape in place with the pigtail. We're going to go, what I'm really going to be watching is, I resealed everything again after I put the water slide on, but what I really want to keep an eye on is the mic, and I just want to make sure it doesn't migrate. I did seal it, I just want to make sure that it stays. So we're going to go ahead and start pouring on our epoxy. And I only did 10 of each, 10 cc's of each. It required no sanding. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep it on the turner for several hours, probably about 4 or 5. And I'm really going to be watching this mica. I just want to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. It shouldn't, but we're just going to make sure. When you use the silicone brush enough, you actually can feel with the brush, you can feel the different textures. You can tell, like up here it's very slippery. When I get down to the mica, like this is fine, but I did run into a rough patch, and you can really feel it. And that's when you know you need to add a little bit more epoxy there. Until it's really, you shouldn't feel any bumpiness with your silicone brush at all. Now I really feel it on the bottom of the cup. So I'm just going to try to get a lot on there. And then we'll go ahead and hit this with the heat gun. Make sure we have no bubbles. I don't use a torch especially here because I mix the micas with alcohol. Even though they're sealed, I just don't like to mess with flames and alcohol. So I will keep it to the heat gun method. I wish I would have made the puppy bigger. And I didn't put any puppy paw prints on it because I thought it would just look way too busy. And the glitter's showing nicely through. So I say yay for this Tack It alternative. I didn't need to buy anything extra. I didn't need to sand. I used, it wasn't a fine glitter, but it wasn't a chunky. It was kind of right in between. So I'm actually pretty happy. And I'll just want to make sure that our mica doesn't go somewhere it shouldn't, and then we'll be ecstatic. Pam is a rescue dog trainer, and she does usually Labradors and I believe golden retrievers, and she's adopted a few dogs too, and I believe they're all the same type of dog, so that's why I went with this puppy. I think we're good. So we are now just going to let this, dry so we can peel it out later. We're going to peel this off in 20 minutes. I'm going to set a timer because I will forget. And then we will come back, and I just want to make sure that we still have these little splash marks. Okay, we'll see you soon. Okay, everybody. So I've taken my electrical tape off after 20 or 30 minutes. This is now spun now for a few hours. The mica has stayed put. So this was I just need a little bit more practice on the spraying it, but everything seems to have stayed exactly where it should. So I think she'll be pleased with this. Again, I didn't put any paws on it just because I thought it might make it a little bit too busy. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video with the Tack It alternative and using mica powders instead of alcohol inks. See you later.